Charlie, you get the first one. Who decided which intersections the cameras would be placed, and what was the criteria for that decision?
I think I kind of answered that question when we had to do our 18-month due diligence on where we wanted to place the cameras, because we studied the 50 most dangerous intersections in the city of Arlington. And we decided on 14 of the most dangerous intersections that gave us those 106 accidents. And what we did, okay, those were the original 14, and that's we've taken 2 away from the original 14 and put 2 more in. But the original 14 are the ones that we're reporting on each and every year, okay, except for those those two that we replaced. We tried to look at the accidents and get a good response as to what's happening in our streets each and every year, so that we get a good, accurate reporting. It's not something that there's all kinds of different factors that go into it, as far as, you know, times of the day and flow and count of cars and the amount of traffic that goes in there, but also it's the accidents that occur at those particular intersections. And our police department is the one that made those decisions.
Okay, Faith, you want me to read your question again? Who decided which intersections the cameras would be placed, and what was the criteria?
The camera company decided where the cameras are going to be placed. I showed you, this is the list that the police department put out of the 10 most dangerous intersections in Arlington, with accidents resulting from red light related incidents, I'm sorry. So he can say that there's other criteria. There really wasn't. There's only 3 of these intersections that have cameras currently. And if you remove 2 of the cameras, why in the world would you ever remove cameras if it's for safety? If you have the top 14 most dangerous intersections, you would never remove them if it's for safety. But if it's for revenue, you can remove them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. Now, as you do this, some of these questions are being answered, and I'm concentrating on other items, so some of this may be a little bit on the redundant side. And Faith, you'll go with this one first. Is it costing the city taxpayer any money to pay for the cameras by any description?
If you pay taxes, it's costing you money.
Charlie, for time?
The $110,000 a month is budgeted through the general fund. Okay. The money that comes in is far superior to the amount of money that goes out. So there's an extra $2.1 million that comes into the city that we pay 23 police officers with that particular amount of funds. Like I said, we budget it through the general fund, and then we pay the police officers. We've increased our police force, 9 to the DUI task force, and then there was 14 more that went to 2 sergeants and 12 patrolmen, and they go out and we put them on jobs like going out to get speeders and solving that problem that was on our survey that you gave back to us. So what we've done is we've accomplished 23 more officers on the force, and we haven't raised your taxes $1.
Yay!
Okay, and Charlie, you'll get the first question on this next one, please. Now, you covered part of this earlier, but apparently they're looking for percentage factors. Of the 19 intersections where the cameras are in place, if they are at the most affected intersections, then why aren't they affecting the accident rate uniformly?
Because not every corner is the same. Faith asked just a little while ago that why we would take cameras out of a specific intersection. And the reason being is because a couple of those intersections have been redesigned, okay? And with the redesign of those intersections, it makes the putting of the camera in a specific area untenable. Okay, so it makes the intersection, after it's been redesigned, a place where we can't put the camera and the approach at the proper spot to get the sensing right. And so that's the reason that the two intersections were removed.
Can I ask him to clarify something on that?
And he'll help.
That's fine.
Okay, no, just a minute, because previously, the rule was that the people involved were not to discuss anything in this particular matter. It was not a debate. If it is a point, wait a minute, if it is a point of clarification that you do not understand, go ahead, but he reserves that same right to come back if you wish. Now, let's not do this on a regular basis. I do not want to headbutt the contest. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question?
We got to find it first. Uniformly, why aren't the accident rates reduced uniformly?
Okay. Were you saying that the two cameras that you took out were because of engineering that had been done in the intersections, not because the accident rate had dropped? Did the accident rate go up or down afterward? Do you know?
I don't know, the camera was removed.
That's an accurate answer. Okay, so the answer to that question, why they don't work uniformly, is because they're inanimate objects. And they don't jump out at people, they don't become the brave little toaster and say, stop. That's really the answer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now Faith, you'll get the first question this next time around. Under the current contract between the City of Arlington and ATS, the city has a 90-day opt-out clause that can be exercised at any time. Both parties agreed to do this. Why would ATS want to sue the City of Arlington over this election under the guise of a private citizen?
My personal belief on this is that because there is a statewide ban coming up, if the domino falls here in Arlington, it falls statewide, and they can't let that happen.
Charlie, 1 minute.
ATS is suing the City of Arlington because they're a company. Companies do one thing. They make money. They make profits. You show me a company that, no, they don't make profits.
No, Kelly. No.
Okay?
No. It's fair for one.
They make profits. That is what companies do. If you worked for a company, you would want them to make a profit so that you could have your job, buy your house, send your kids to school. That's what a capitalist system does. We, on the other hand, are a government. We are not out for a profit. We have to look at what is safe for our citizens. I abstained from the vote because I didn't want my name to be on a no vote for the election and then on a yes vote for something that is going to harm the people of Arlington. I did not want my name there, and that's why I abstained.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Charlie, you had the next question. Why is it okay to allow a private company to take my picture and hold me responsible for a monetary fine when they are not an elected body? And how do they have any authority to collect for a violation?
About 4 or 5 questions, everybody.
And they're all valid.
I'm just the messenger, Charlie.
Okay, we're going to talk about essentially privacy here. You're talking about why a camera can take your picture. And essentially the Supreme Court has said that driving is a regulated activity and it's on a public road. Okay? So there's no expectation of privacy in public. That's why you cannot urinate in the street. Okay? Because it is public. You have to go someplace private. All right? They also said that nobody has a fundamental right to run a red light or avoid being seen by a camera on a public street. the fact that liability through the use of photographs taken by automatic cameras rather than tickets from an absent officer does not alter the constitutionality of the procedure available to the alleged red light violators. That's the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, and they also allowed Obamacare too. Yes, they did. Robert's sure did.
That wasn't my question.
Yes. Why is it okay to allow a private company to take my picture and hold me responsible for a monetary fine when they are not an elected body? And how do they have the authority to collect for a violation?
Florida State Supreme Court actually just ruled last year that the private company can't determine whether or not you're guilty of a crime. It is unconstitutional. Why would it be constitutional if you were assumed liable to the city for a fine and have to prove yourself to be innocent? There's no way a person can get a trial by jury for a camera. The law is written to say that if you don't receive their notice in the first class mail, which is not a good way to receive mail, that this is an admission of liability and you waive your right to an appeal. It denies us equal protection under the law when the same act of running a red light is subject to two entirely different justice systems. One is civil, one is criminal. And there is where a wrongfully accused person by a camera doesn't have the same right and protections as someone given a ticket by a police officer. So I don't believe that they have a right to do that. And that's why I think that they have been banned in so many states, because they have been found unconstitutional, and I think the same thing's going to happen here in Texas.
Okay, Faith, you have the next question, please. Why are there no lights in the entertainment district? So many. I'm going to read this the way it was written. No, there's no name on this particular question. So many drunk drivers get arrested. Well, have you been active over there, David? Did you do that? Okay. So many drivers get arrested there and cause near wrecks. Where is the safety?
That's a really good question. I don't know why there aren't any cameras in the entertainment district. That's the honest truth. I have no idea. You would think that there would be more money there. You would think they'd be able to get more money there, but maybe they just didn't want to make all the people angry that come over to the Cowboy Stadium and spend money in our city instead. They'd rather put them in areas where they'll just make us angry because we live here and we can't go anywhere.
Charlie, you have 1 minute when you're ready.
360 and Six Flags Drive. That's the answer to my question.
One. Intersection.
That's where the camera is.
360. There's 5. 3 miles.
Okay. I need to reword this one a little bit, I think. Let's see, Charlie, you get the first one here. Do you think decriminalizing red light running?
Aren't they going to change that? Aren't they going to change that when they build a new freeway? So what are we going to do with that camera?
No, please.
They're not going to change.
No, no questions from the audience,
Oh,
please.
okay.
I'm not going to go with that one. Well, we're not going to go with that one either. Okay, Charlie, let's repeat one. Here's an obvious repeat. How do the cameras make an intersection safer than the intersections without them? Point being, you can and cannot see the cameras. You do not always know they are there. How do the cameras make an intersection safer than the intersections without them?
By that sign right behind you.
You can't see it sometimes.
You can see that sign as you approach the intersection, and it will say that it is a red light code enforced intersection. And you can go ahead and, it trains me after, I got 2 tickets already, okay, by right turns.
Did you pay them?
I paid my tickets. I paid my tickets because it was the right thing to do. The society that we have now, they seem to be only able to do the things that they have to do and not the things that they should do. And I feel as though that if we break the law, especially if I'm caught on video breaking the law, I'll pay my ticket. I broke the law. Right, Woody? Okay.
Faith, before you go, we have a lot of talking in the back. And in this particular room, that is going to drown out some of what is being said. May I request, please, that you give these speakers the courtesy of quiet in the room and simply allow them to express an individual opinion here. And you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
You say you break the law and that you pay your tickets because it's the right thing to do. You have decriminalized running red light cameras. You have essentially said that it is not as important as somebody who's drunk driving, who somebody gets caught by a cop and stopped and gets a ticket and then goes to jail if they don't pay it. So I actually don't remember what the question was because I know that had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to respond to that part.
How do the cameras make an intersection safer than the intersections without them?
They don't. And we need to do our due diligence to make sure. One of the reasons that we started this petition drive was not so that we could just get rid of the cameras. It was so we could force the city to do what's necessary to make every intersection in Arlington safer, because there are things that we can do to make every intersection safer. And they have been proven. There have been studies that have been done that show that they are more effective than cameras could ever be.
Okay, Faith, you get the next question, which apparently came from Robert Rivera. Is that right, Robert? Did you send up a question?
No.
Oh, you did not send up a question? You're disavowing the next question before it's asked. Warren asked this question. He's standing next to you.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
And you get the first one this time. Why do you feel that the city council did not want to discuss this issue when Robert Rivera originally brought it up?
Because there was no political pressure to talk about it at the time. We didn't have 11,405 people who had signed a petition saying that we want this talked about. We wouldn't be having this debate if we hadn't done the petition drive and said this is something we want to talk about. So the city council had no political pressure, and now they have a lot of political pressure, and they're going to talk about it because we the people have a right to have our voice heard.
Well, Robert has a free will to take whatever position he'd like.
Yeah.
And if he'd like to put that particular item on the agenda, okay, we would be more than, that's how stuff is done. We put it in the agenda and then we discuss it in an open session, work session. That's how things are done. And anyway, the red light cameras were not put on the agenda and therefore we didn't discuss it. That's the answer to that question.
Okay, each of you, yes, go ahead and take 15 seconds and then he'll have the same response.
The way that works to get something on the agenda for the work sessions, you have to have a second. Robert tried to bring it up more than once. There was no second because nobody wanted to talk about it.
Charlie lied. Yep.
Go ahead and speak to that. You don't need a second, okay? You just go over and say, hey, I'd like a new agenda item put on the agenda, and the mayor says, okay, fine. And we don't move and we don't second new agenda items. Thank you.
Can I ask a question to Robert? Is that true, Robert?
I'm going to defer to the other councilman.
It's election time. You don't want to grandstand somewhere along the line? You want to preach from back there? Okay. All right. Well, we have someone who signed this particular one, Gary Brizendine. All right. If it is acceptable to Gary, if it is acceptable to roll a stoplight triggering a camera, are there other laws we should ignore? Gary, I do not understand your question.
Well, if it seems to be from the folks I've talked to, you seem to feel that these cameras are not legal, or maybe if they are legal, you don't like the legality. Okay. But are there other laws? If you roll a stoplight and it clicks and you get a ticket, what other laws would you like to ignore?
I wanted to
just curious,
because you're the only one so far that has the nerve to sign the card.
Oh, I got it. You know where it came from.
Who's supposed to go first this time? I'm off track. Charlie, this is you. If it is acceptable to roll a stoplight triggering a camera, are there other laws we should ignore?
Well, I paid $150 and it wasn't acceptable. Okay? And I think that's your point, Gary. And Mark Wandell, who is a gentleman down in Florida, and they established the Mark Wandel Act in Florida. He was killed on somebody that rolled around a right turn and ran right into him and killed him. So anyway, it is not legal to not stop and make a right turn. It is not legal to do that. Nice hand.
Okay, Faith, you have 1 minute.
You're right, it's not legal to make a right turn on red without stopping. It's not legal to run a red light. You would have a greater penalty if a police officer pulled you over than you would if you got caught by a red light camera. And we need those cops in our intersections. Patrolling, policing, stopping bad behavior, stopping bad drivers who are drunk, who are going to plow into somebody. And yeah, do you have a follow-up to your question?
Well, you said the penalty's not the same?
Gary, I cannot.
problem.
It would not be fair to the others.
Is that because you can face your accuser?
No, no more.
Excuse me, I have a question.
No, no more. We cannot do that.
Raise the fine.
All right, in the interest of time, it is 8:15, and we always adjourn between 8:15 and 8:30. Now, knowing the importance of this, we have to stick to our timetable. We've always done that. We're going to do it now. I'm going to ask them one more question each, and then they'll each have a 2-minute closing statement. At that time, please do not leave. Please retain your seats. Ann Coker has a couple of closing statements to make, a couple of announcements, and then that will be all. Now, I have... Okay. There were several questions here that I wanted to end up going to, and there were several questions on here concerning money. But who paid for this study in the first place? Did the taxpayers pay for this, or did it come out of some private funding somewhere along the line? And again, I've lost track. Which one of you goes first?
What study are you talking about?
I do not know. Was that your question, Bill? I do not know who asked that question. There's no name on there. And I do not know what study. Charlie, do you know what study they're referring to?
I think they're probably considering the 18-month due diligence that we had to do before we installed the cameras. There was a study that we had to do for 18 months, and that was a study that took into consideration accident rates at 50 of the intersections, so that we could determine which 14 intersections we wanted to put the red light cameras at. The company had no input, as they could care less where we put the red light cameras. They don't get any more money, they don't get any input, they don't get anything. So the bottom line is they get their money, and then we decide where we want to put the red light cameras.
Faith?
I have no idea what study they're talking about. For a traffic engineering study, there wasn't one done, not a single one for any of the intersections that have red light cameras in them right now. That would have been paid for by the city, by your tax dollars, and it probably would have been worth it to have that information. There's other studies that have been done. Rice University did a study in Houston talking about how their red light camera program was actually a detriment to safety and how it decreased safety. But other than that, I have no idea what other studies you'd be talking about.
Okay. There are a multitude of good questions here. If your question was not asked, my personal apologies. I tried to pick out what appeared to be the better questions, the one of more interest would like to go through more of them and simply did not. In this particular case, you have 2 minutes worth of closing statements. And you started the original opening statements, so Charlie, you have 2 minutes worth of closing statements, and we'll go first, please.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again for having me this evening. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to discuss this. A lot of people think that because I got a red light ticket, I'm a victim. And if you think that you're a victim because you got a ticket, you're wrong. The victims are the individuals that are hit by those people running red lights. Mrs. Kolunsky, you ever heard of her? Kolunsky. She was driving her pickup truck at 72 miles an hour down Cooper Street one night when she came up on Green Oaks Avenue, and a guy by the name of Mr. Clark pulled out in front of her on a green light, and she T-boned him, killed him immediately, and put the other man in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. They were both 21 years old. Okay? These are the victims. And if you think you're a victim because you got a red light camera, your moral compass isn't pointing towards true north.
Oh, shit, let's go.
Really.
Yeah,
That's good.
ridiculous.
67% of the people that are killed are not the ones running the red light. Those are the true victims. If the red light cameras are removed, accidents will go up. We don't have to go back in time to Wally and the Beaver days to where we have a good Samaritan that has to stop to tell us, or to tell a police officer what actually happened in that intersection. We don't have to do that. This is 2015. We have the technology. And I have a story to tell you about a gentleman who was killed at Parkland Hospital, but the red light camera exonerated the individual that had a green light and he was driving the van. And if he hadn't had that red light camera there, he would have had a lawsuit against him, lost his job, and his entire family would have lost their sustenance, and he would have probably gone to jail. So the red light camera did its work at that particular intersection.
Thank you. Faith, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you all very much for coming out tonight. My question is, how can you claim the moral high ground when you're advocating for police officers to stay away from intersections instead of interacting with people? How can you claim the moral high ground when you are advocating for a lesser penalty that at this time is not enforceable at all? How can you claim the moral high ground when you are advocating for more government oversight and less personal responsibility? You can't. Even if the red light cameras eliminated all red light related accidents, the city would still be ignoring the greater problem. We are asking the city to look at the greater problem. We are not wanting to be ignorant of basic safety standards for intersections. We don't want to ignore that. Just like they've been ignoring basic road repair in poor neighborhoods for years, we don't want just a few intersections to be the ones getting all of the safety. We want everyone to be safe. So millions of dollars are taken out of this local economy and you haven't changed a thing. So let's get rid of these cameras so that we can force our city council to do the right thing. If anybody would like to donate money or time to help us get rid of these things, please come talk to myself or Kelly Canon. Write us a check, Citizens for Better Arlington. We'll take it. And thank you all so much for coming.
That worked out rather well. I had a couple of questions concerning tonight's program. This is 100% Ann Coker's idea. This worked out rather well. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Charlie Parker and to Faith Bussey for participating in this.
Thanks again, everyone. Come out on this cold night. I hope this heated you up or warmed you up a little bit. It was a great discussion. I want to thank our participants. They were great, really. Thank you. I learned a lot, and I hope that this is a service that we did for our community, and I hope it was informative. And if you have, they're going to be around, so if you have any other questions. Next month, City Council Forum, Candidate Forum, and Mayoral Candidate Forum.
Robert, you coming next month?
Robert is in a contested race in the deadline Friday. Okay, so it should be some interesting races coming up. Also, I'd like to end this evening here again in dedication to our Cal Walters that was unfortunately killed in a tragic accident in January. When she was 19 years old, the reason that she is just such a loss for this community and to the country, the world as a whole, is some of the things that she wrote. And I'm going to read a quote from an essay that she wrote that I happened to find that she wrote when she was 19 years old. This was written on January 4th. She was coming back from a party, or a picnic with her family. And her father is here tonight too, by the way. And thank him for being here. Sometimes we get so caught up in what is going on in political issues of the day that sometimes we forget to be grateful that we can get caught up. And realize that one person with a strong voice over time can change the landscape of our country. This is really hard for me to read. So, coming out of the 4th of July weekend and back into the insanity that is local, state, national, and international politics, just remember that you are an American, and that makes you mighty. Thank you. Words from a 19-year-old. And that's the reason we do miss her. And that's the reason the chair is dedicated to her. And that she can affect change. Sure, one of the reasons we have this program tonight.
Next month on the 12th, we have, for the Arlington Tea Party, we have Michael Quinn Sullivan as our keynote speaker, and he always knows good stuff to talk about. So hopefully we'll see you here. See you there. Thank you.
Oh, and I forgot one more thing. Joe Barton is having his Happy Birthday Texas celebration March 1st, which is Sunday, at Club 81. On the stockyard. So if you want to go on the website. You can look it up. It's $50 a person. You're going to have lots of good food, lots of fun. And anyway, hang around, patronize Humperdinck's. Don't forget, if you know that these waiters and waitresses work for tips, so be generous with them. They really do us a good job as they come in and move all the tables out of here and set this room up just for us. So we appreciate any help you give them. Thank you.